Today I'm looking at the UGREEN HiTune X6 earbuds. At about £60 these fall into the budget category, but only just. I reviewed the HiTune X5 earbuds last year and still use them every day. At just £40 they are outstanding value, so you'd expect big things from the more expensive offering. They connect using Bluetooth 5.1 if your device supports it, but as with all Bluetooth devices, it's all fully backwards compatible. If your phone's getting a bit old, they'll work just fine, but you'll lose the benefits of Bluetooth 5. In the box, we get 3 sizes of silicone earbuds, the medium size already fitted, a USB-C charging cable, documentation, and the charging case containing the earbuds themselves. The case will provide up to 26 hours of playback, with the buds themselves needing a charge every 6 hours, according to UGREEN. If they're dead and you're in a rush, 10 minutes of charge in the case will theoretically give you 1 hour of play, so you can easily get more power while you head out to get a coffee or something like that. The LED on the side will flash as soon as you replace the buds to indicate that they're charging. This also displays the battery level in the case. Phone call support is enhanced using Realtek's RCV4 noise suppression technology. What that does is use the mics that are on the earbuds, 3 on each, to detect ambient sounds as well as in-ear noise and just try and remove that from the mix, so all you hear, theoretically, are the near and far caller.
This is a recording of the UGREEN HiTune X6 earbuds. Right then, so I've come into the kitchen and I've turned the extractor on full, and I'm also boiling the kettle at the same time, which is incredibly noisy.
The 10mm diamond-like carbon speaker unit, that's their name, not mine, is designed to produce deep, powerful, but accurate bass. The X5s do this really well, and also use a 10mm unit, so let's hope the response is the same on these. With an IPX5 rating, you can happily use these in the rain or in a sweat-fest gym orgy or whatever your thing is. Both the AAC and SBC codecs are supported. There's no aptX on these, I'm afraid, which won't matter to anyone with an iPhone because iPhones have never supported aptX. However, it will potentially matter to the other 85% of the world who don't have an iPhone, which is, in the world at current time of recording, is about 6.5 billion smartphones, so maybe around about 5.5 billion phones. Just thought I'd kind of put things in perspective there. No one likes a channel that says that everyone has an iPhone, right? All your standard touch controls are there, so you can operate your music, voice assist, calls and volume by gently tapping one of the buds. The big selling point on these earbuds over the X5 is the inclusion of true ANC, which stands for active noise cancellation. Many people confuse the term noise cancellation with noise cancellation. That's kind of understandable, right? Manufacturers of cheap headphones use the term noise cancellation in their product feature list very freely. This usually refers to noise cancellation when on a call and has absolutely nothing to do with ANC, which is where the background sounds are reduced during music listening for the user. A typical example is cancelling out the engine noise in a plane or the hum from an air conditioning unit. So, there's a look at the product and the specs, but what do I think? Well, I'll give you the short version first. I would probably save yourself £20 and buy the X5s instead. But that's not terribly useful on its own, so let's break that down a little bit more. The style of the earbuds is almost identical to the X5s. It's like a kind of miniaturized Bluetooth headset from the 1990s. It really might not be to everybody's taste, and I think it looks a little bit dated. The case, on the other hand, is really beautiful. It's a minimal grey matte plastic design, so absolute top marks on the design of the case. Fit-wise, well, fit's a very personal thing, isn't it? What works brilliantly in my ear might be terrible in someone else's. These, for me, are just perfect. They're so easy to fit and they stay in no matter how violently you move your head around. No problem whatsoever if you plan to run with these or use them in the gym, as I mentioned before. When I reviewed the X5s, I said that the bass was heavy but okay. A bit much for some, maybe. Out of the box, the audio on the X6s is this, but turned up to 11. It's totally excessive, way too heavy on the bass, and the EQ is so bright that all detail is destroyed on the lossy codec and just becomes a big splashy mess. If you're a listener of something a bit less pre-processed than the majority of modern pop, you might do okay, but it's really quite a gamble. If, however, you tap the buds 4 times, you enter something called gaming mode. I thought this was actually a lower latency mode to reduce Bluetooth delay, but it's in the manual as an EQ mode. When enabled, this rough EQ is tamed quite a lot. You also lose quite a bit of perceived volume with this change. It may well be the case that this actually just disables some god-awful audio processing the earbuds use in normal mode, which in turn allows the audio to be processed quicker and sound a lot better as a byproduct. As far as the ANC is concerned, the noise cancellation works, there's no question of that. It does, however, also seem to disable the aforementioned audio processing and EQ. So if you do like your music with a massively bright and splashy top end and excessive bass, then maybe you won't be able to use it. While maybe not a big problem, you can't use ANC in a windy environment either. The sound of the wind is just transferred to your ears somehow with ANC enabled. I don't know why, but it just sounds bad. Call quality wise, the Realtek RCV sounds very different to the Qualcomm CVC. Not bad, maybe a bit processed and robotic, but generally clear and intelligible when indoors. Outside is a different story. I called my partner on the X6s walking back from the school drop-off, as I normally do, and we had to end the call. She couldn't understand or hear anything I was saying due to the wind noise. There was a slight breeze, but nothing more than I've had using every other type of headphone. Given the kettle test, where I stand 1 metre from a boiling kettle, which are surprisingly loud, the X6s kill more of the background noise than the X5s, but at the cost of losing clarity in the spoken audio. They work fine though, and if you're using them indoors, you shouldn't have a problem. Battery-wise, as I mentioned, the earphones last 6 hours themselves. I could never use earbuds like this for 6 hours in one go, and the case is by far the best place to keep these, so battery life is just never a concern. I know that might not be too much use to you, but that's the reality. 26 hours of use is easily enough to have because, let's be honest, you're very likely to have a USB charger somewhere near you because you'll need to charge your phone well before anything else. Controls are responsive and relatively simple. I always love my Sennheisers because they provide audio feedback as you tap, with multiple taps having incrementing pitch. As with many earphones of this type, it's a bit of guesswork with the UGREENs, and it can be a bit fiddly, but the sensitivity does seem just about right. With products like this, a manufacturer will take a stock system on a chip, and they'll put it in their product, and then they'll sort of just put their own little special bits on to make it their own, make it something a little bit special. In the case of the X6s, UGREEN have taken a Realtek system on chip. In the X5s, they used a Qualcomm, which is fine. They bumped the price up £20 because of active noise cancellation. But the problem is, apart from that, everything else is worse versus the Qualcomm chipset and the X5s, in my opinion. They've reduced the battery life slightly despite a larger case, used Bluetooth 5.1 rather than 5.2, lowered the call quality, in my opinion, removed aptX support, removed the independent charge indicators for each of the buds, and most importantly of all, majorly ballsed up the EQ on the standard mode. My conclusion is that these are not terrible, but in my advice, buy the X5s unless you desperately need ANC all the time and you're not going to be using that ANC outside. I really love my X5s, and to me, it feels like UGREEN are charging you more for an inferior product. That's my review. I hope you found it useful. Thanks very much for watching. I'll put links to the product down in the description, and I'll see you again soon.